Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for showing up today. Today I have the amazing Amber, who's a professional organizer. And if you want to know, if you have ever considered to hire a professional organizer, then stick with us. We are going to ask her some questions, so she's going to answer them for us. And so, Amber, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. You know, nowadays there is a big thing about becoming more minimalist because we all have a lot of stuff. And I have been one of those that kept buying stuff just because it was beautiful or on sale. So I'm really struggling now to declutter in my life. And I know it's a very common thing. In fact, people like Marie Kondo and minimalists became more and more popular. And recently I listened to Spark Joy and I really loved it because I'm very sentimental. And in fact, I will ask you later a question about people attached to sentimental things, how to deal with it. But first of all, I would like to ask you, what are your main responsibilities as a professional organizer?
Yeah, so as a professional organizer, it can be as big or as small of a project as you want. So some professional organizers will tackle somebody's entire life, and they're almost like a life coach of sorts. Me personally, I specifically focus on people's spaces. So your home, your office, and creating systems to make those spaces work for you so that doing the easy thing is doing the right thing. Because if it's automatically easy to put your coat on the hook, then if you have a hook there, then you're going to do it right every single time. So it's inventing ways to make the space work for you. It's walking a client through that process of letting go of items, especially those sentimental ones, and basically bringing awareness to my client that how much stuff they actually have. You know, if they have 15 sweatshirts, they only wear 2 of them. You know, a lot of people just tuck the others in the back of the closet and they don't see them again for the next 5 years. So just bringing kind of awareness of your space and downsizing it so that it's just the things that you really care about that take that space up and take the space of your mind of knowing where they are, what they are. That's kind of the general overview of what I do.
Awesome. So basically, I love the thing about the hook. So it's basically everything in a place and a place for everything kind of thing, right? Powerful.
Absolutely.
So it becomes easy and mechanical. And yeah, that's a very interesting thing about how much stuff we have. We only realize that whenever we move. We find stuff we forgot.
Oh, I help a lot of people move because of what I do. I do move management a lot because of how much people realize, oh, I need to pack. And then they open their garage or they open their attic or their basement and they go, I haven't opened that box since 2 moves ago and I've been living here for 5 years. What is even in that box anymore? That's when I get called, is when people just get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff they have.
Yeah. And in your experience, how clutter affects us, like mentally and...
It's a weight, you know, when you've just got all those things to do and you feel that pressure in your chest. It's just, it adds anxiety. It you know, increases depression issues if you're susceptible to either of those. It overwhelms the space that's supposed to be your center, right? Home is supposed to be the oasis from the rest of the world and what's going on. But when your home is just as busy and fast and chaotic as the rest of the world, you can't find that place to just relax and be. So it's huge having a space that's cluttered. It can make the difference between, you know, getting up and going for your morning run and, oh, I guess I'm just going to stay in bed because if I get out of bed, I know I'm going to have to go clean up the living room or pick up dishes from last night or, it's huge.
So, like, what are some of the biggest tips you have for someone who wants to live a clutter-free dyslexic this time of the night, clutter-free life?
There you go. there's so many different ways because everyone thinks a little bit differently. So you have to really experiment and find the system that works for you. You know, for my husband and I, we're never home. So doing a daily habit is really, really hard for us because we only stay at our house maybe 5 nights a week because we're always out and about doing stuff. And, you know, of those 5 nights, we don't get home till late. So for us, we have one day where we have, you know, 3 hours chunked out. And that's the day that we put everything back where it needs to, where everything gets reset. And after that, we have, you know, tea, or we go relax, or we do something enjoyable because we need to reward ourselves if you're doing a big project like going through your house. But you have to get through that initial decluttering stage. Set time aside, make it intentional, bring other people in if you're feeling comfortable with having other people in your space. Make it fun. I mean, get pizza or takeout and make it an enjoyable process, but you've got to set that time aside and be intentional about your space. It's just like every other facet of health. You know, you intentionally set time aside to go to the gym. You intentionally set time aside to cook. You need to intentionally set time for your environment.
Okay, so to make some space and time for it, like on purpose, not like, oh, I have 10 minutes, let's see what I can do.
Yeah. Intentionally set that time aside and start small. I mean, you don't have to be a professional organizer and do this 10 hours a day, every day of the week, you know. You can start with that junk drawer. I mean, everyone's got a junk drawer. I mean,
I have two.
Exactly. And some people have a junk cupboard, and like it just grows beyond that point. But if you start in one spot and you take each item, pull it out of the drawer, wipe down the bottom of the drawer, because it's the last time you're going to see the bottom of that drawer for a while. And you take each item and you go, okay, batteries need to go with the batteries out in the garage, and the, you know, flashlight needs to stay in the drawer because that's where I'm going to look for it if the power goes out. And you just have to be intentional about each of those items. It's all about awareness and intentionality.
Okay. And like when you said before that you are one who works with space, do you have like, do you suggest a space to start with, or depends from the person?
It depends a lot on the person. This is something that's, you know, debated a lot. You know, Marie Kondo starts with everybody's closet. She loves starting people with clothes because clothes generally are not super sentimental, and, you know, you've got a couple of things that you really care about from when you were in school or when you were, you know, ran a marathon or that kind of thing. But overall, they're pretty unsentimental. But I like to start with things like linen closets. Bathrooms are usually pretty safe to start in and pretty quick. Either you use the product or you don't use the product. Those neutral spaces, though, like a junk drawer, like those are the great places to start because you can start figuring out how the process is going to make you feel before you hit those gut-wrenching, you know, mom's china and, you know, grandpa's war medals and, you know, those sentimental items that are just going to hurt when you're looking at them.
Yeah, later I will ask you. Actually, let me ask you now, like guilt, the guilt when something doesn't spark joy, but we keep it out of guilt because it was a family heirloom or something. How do you suggest to handle with those big emotional things that maybe they don't do?
Yeah, if you're ready to release it and you don't want it in your life and you have no desire to save it for future kids or somebody else in the family, I start by offering it to somebody else in the family. See if, you know, there's a sentimental person who's got a big hunch for family history and has a big love for holding on to those kinds of things. If there's nobody like that, what I usually do with clients is I take several pictures of the item and we basically make a stuff book where it's just a picture book of each and every item that really meant something to them, and they write the story of it and the pictures are there. And then they can pass that book on to the kids and they can pass that. But it takes all these big items and takes it down to just one little teeny tiny book. And you can revisit those memories, revisit those moments. But you can also close the book and just put it on a shelf. It doesn't take up a whole shelf worth of stuff.
Good point. Or they can use it up.
Yeah.
Without waiting for the queen to show up.
Yes. I mean, and it depends on the item and it depends on your personal connection. And there's a lot of factors that go into there. But if letting it go now means in the future you're going to regret it, find a way to hold on to the memory without having to hold on to the item. I love pictures in the little book, but there's other ways to do it. Take those ballet shoes and put them in a shadow box so you can hang them on the wall as an art piece. You can get as creative with it as you want. It's just make sure that you're maintaining the integrity of that memory or of that history for you.
Yeah, and it brings you joy, or makes you feel warm and nice. Yeah.
100%. If you don't have peace about it, it's not the right solution.
Powerful. So I have some questions, so let me check. Okay, so there was something you mentioned before. I need to think about it. But tell me, what's your typical day? Like, somebody calls you and you show up at a client's house. So how does it work? I open the door to you. You come with this beautiful smile and warm personality, come in my home. Because also, I guess you need to have the right attitude. You're a very empathetic person and very welcoming. Because if I had somebody where I felt judged, I would really struggle.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's not every professional organizer is created equal. Some are going to create that gentler environment, and some people need more of like a military sergeant to come march in and just command you what to do. So I have to figure out what hat I need to wear before I walk in the door. I usually start off gentle and welcoming, and I do a free consult before I do any project or I do any job to make sure that I'm the right fit for them personality-wise. And then usually by the end of that consult, I figured out if somebody needs a firmer hand to, smack them upside the head and say, let's get to work, or if they need a gentler approach of, okay, here's an item. What does this make you feel? How can you release it? What does this mean for you? And it's a fine line to walk because you have to figure out what that is. So if I'm walking into a client's house, I start with an assessment because I have to know what I'm dealing with. And that assessment includes who they are as a person as well as their space. I've done everything from teenagers to small businesses, and it's totally different trying to work with somebody who's 85 versus 15, or a business owner, or it's just a totally different experience each and every time. I kind of pride myself a little bit on trying to tailor those experiences so that way we can get the most done in the least amount of time. But it always starts with that initial assessment. That's day one, and I'll reassess as we go. So every time I walk in the door, I'm like, okay, let's do a walkthrough and let's see what the space is at, because since I've last been here, I see that you've completely undone the closet, and I see that you've completely ruined your junk drawers. It's now full of junk again that has nothing to do with what this drawer is meant for, which is utility use. And so it's assessment, and then you jump into the project. So whatever that next step is, talking about mindset. Some people need to talk about it before they can do it, and some people just need to do it and talk about it as they're doing it. It's everything's up in the air, so it's weighing those variables and trying to figure out what's going to work best for the client.
Who do you find more resistant to let go, a teenager or 85-year-old?
I've had both. So when I'm dealing with older folks, because of the history of the U.S. in general, they went through something called the Great Depression, which is basically they didn't have access to decent food diversity. They didn't have, it was an incredibly scarce time in the U.S. So anybody who grew up during that time period will often find themselves saying things like, I might use it later. I might need it again. Even though they haven't touched it for 10 years, that's still their mindset, because you saved everything during that time period because you weren't sure if you could get it again. you weren't sure if you could get flour. You weren't sure if you could get, light bulbs or, you know, anything really, pots and pans. Everything was essentially measured out for people and rationed. So when I'm working with older folks, I'm dealing usually with that kind of mindset. And the teenagers, of course, they've grown up in an environment where they have to hold on to their stuff because human relationships and connections aren't as deep as they were for, my generation and up. So for them, a lot of their value comes from stuff. So letting go of items is a lot harder for them if it has any sort of value, if it has any significance, if it has any sentimentality. It's hard for them to let go because their entire identity is wrapped up in stuff. So it's totally different. But, and some people, they live through the Depression and they're still just as wasteful as every other person on the planet. And some people that are teenagers, they just don't care about stuff. They just have too much of it, or they don't have adequate storage. So it looks crazy, but really they don't really need to get rid of it. They just need to store it properly, and it's that balancing act of figuring out where exactly the client lives and how to get them through that mindset, whatever it is that's holding them back.
And I guess with an adult it's easier because the adult maybe have hired you. The teenager doesn't feel like, oh, I need to change my life. So maybe it's the parent who is calling, my kid is out of control. So I guess they are a bit forced to go through the change.
And that's exactly what happens with teenagers. Usually I can get a teenager on board. It's very rare that I can't get them excited about it. Because essentially what I do is I reward them through the process with, let's get you, make me a Pinterest board or cut out some pictures of what the dream bedroom looks like. And then as much as I can, I try to recreate that vision they have in their head of what the dream bedroom is like.
Nice.
So it gets them excited about the project. So they're a little bit interior design, but it's mostly just getting them excited about, okay, you need new furniture because your stuff has no storage. You have 3 drawers. That's not enough. Let's look at what's online and what we can pick up for you locally and go from there. So sometimes it's a little bit of bribery when it comes to teenagers to get them
It will work with me too. I should do the same thing.
It works with most people, but I'm just going to blame the teenagers.
Yeah, I'm not very organized. What I have felt when you say that sometimes 85 years old people, they've been through the Depression, they're like, oh, I might need this later. I actually do the same, even if I never lived in scarcity, like never lived any era, and I'm like, oh, I might need this again, or the jeans that when I was 20, like, oh, maybe one day this color will be back in fashion. No, never. And it's something I say to myself quite a bit. So it's also, I guess, more people than.
Well, it's a mindset passed down, right? So it could have been your great-great-grandparents that developed that mindset, but they passed it on to your grandparents, and your grandparents passed it on to your parents, and it might be a little more watered down, so it's easier for you to let go of stuff than what your great-grandparents would have been, but it's something that those big moments of history have such a huge impact on the psychology and the mind of the people who lived through it that it passes down through the family line. And, I've worked with parents and, the kids and then their kids. I've been able to see how those kinds of generational pieces can fit together and pass down through the family. So I wear a lot of hats. Sometimes it's psychologist, sometimes it's organizer. It just depends on the day.
How long have you been a professional organizer?
I've been doing it professionally for about 2 years now, and then unprofessionally forever. I just kind of did it when I was a kid. Go to my cousin's house and organize their room because their room drove me crazy. And, it's just something I've always done, which is why I started a business on it in the first place.
Awesome. So you always love this kind. And it's like, what pushed you to, what's the aspect you love the most about your work?
Oh my goodness. There's a lot. There's a lot of satisfaction when a project gets finished and getting that before and after picture.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
I'll send you a couple so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yes, please.
But you get a lot of satisfaction from that moment. You get a lot of satisfaction with helping somebody work through the emotional drudgery of their space, and then how free somebody feels at the end of it. There's just a lot of satisfaction for me when my client looks at me at the end of the project and just
Yeah, goodness.
in their space. And it's just a really remarkable feeling. I don't know how to describe it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, like having a house more like a sanctuary with less stuff, but only thing we love.
Yeah.
What would you say to all those humans like me that, oh, I need to organize the place? Let me go first buy some boxes. Where to store the things? Thank you. I knew you were going to tell me no.
No. Okay. Follow the acronym SPACE. So you start by sorting everything. So all of your like items come together. Your pillows go with pillows in one bedroom, your blankets with blankets, your cups with cups, your mugs with mugs, your plates with, everything gets separated out from the whole. Like if you're doing a whole house project, you just take everything out and your house looks like a hurricane went through it. But everything gets stacked up with like items.
Okay.
I'm using clear tubs for this. So once you've kind of started that process, you can see how many tubs you need, and then I'll go pick up some clear plastic tubs because that way you can see everything. Then you purge it all. So space, sort, purge everything that doesn't bring you joy. You don't need 20 plates, you need like 6. You don't need 50 guitars, you need like 2. Drop everything down to what the things that really matter most to you are, and save sentimental for last. Do not start with sentimental. Do not make decisions on sentimental until you've been through everything else, because if you start with sentimental, you're going to railroad yourself and you're going to just completely change direction, and you're going to get wrapped up in the history and the stories and the memories and bad. Start with everything else. Then you can assign things a new location. Your kitchen stuff goes back in the kitchen, but maybe there's a cabinet that makes more sense than what it did before, or a drawer for silverware that makes more sense than the one you had it in before. Reassign everything so that it works and functions for your life.
Yes.
Then you can properly contain things. That's when you can buy the cute baskets and you can start sealing bins and make sure that, they all stack up in the garage and they're labeled. And then you have to evaluate. So sort, purge, assign, contain, evaluate. Come back in a month and make sure that system works for you.
Powerful. I'm going to write the acronyms down for whoever is watching. And when you send me the picture, I will add them at the end of the video. So we can see the before and after. And Amber, what's the thing you like the least about your job?
Oh, I make people cry. Oh. I mean, people are going through these big emotional items, and I'm basically like, okay, so do you want to keep this piece of junk? Because from my perspective, I don't know that there's a story attached to it. And I've had people just look at me and just bust into tears, because I didn't know it was sentimental and I thought it was trash, but really that was, the can their grandfather kicked and met their grandmother, and it's items that mean something to them but mean nothing to an outsider. So trying to not make people cry is a big goal, but it's not one I succeed at every time. And sometimes crying is cathartic and healthy and it's good, but I don't like being the cause of it, though. It makes me very uncomfortable.
As you know, I'm a therapist, and I am pro tears. Tears are cleansing. So I wouldn't feel bad if I was you, because you are so sweet and kind and empathetic. I just think you just trigger a thing, then they cry, they let it go, and then they're like, no, I want to keep this rusted can, because this can reminds me of my grandfather, how he met my grandma. So
Mm-hmm.
I think crying is sometimes bottle up emotions. So you're also being a therapist at the moment if they cry. So I'm a pro crier person. Cry people if you need to, if it's appropriate, of course.
Yes, but I don't know. I don't like being the person that causes it. Like that's
No. I just adjust the switch. Those tears are already inside there. Don't worry. No. So what kind of problems do you deal with?
oh man. People who call me because they know they need to declutter, but they can't actually let go of anything.
Ah,
That's really hard. Because essentially it's just, punching a brick wall. The brick wall knows that it needs to come down, but I don't have the proper tools to force you into doing it. You have to be open and receptive to the process. Running into issues with like communication, because we're dealing with such personal things. Not everyone's a good communicator when it comes to dealing with their environment and their space. So kind of creating that vocabulary for people, constantly checking in with people's emotions, making sure people are okay. Decision fatigue is what happens when you've made too many decisions in a short amount of time and your brain gets tired. I mean, your brain's basically a muscle, and I'm I'm taking that muscle and I'm giving you one crazy workout. Not everyone's ready to do that. Yeah, not everyone's ready to do that on a day-to-day basis. So helping people not burn out in the process, and that's probably one of the other big ones, was not burning out. I mean, both for the client and for me, because it's a lot of decisions for me to make as well. But, I do it every day, so I've trained that muscle a little bit further than the average little older lady that's, retiring, or little old man who wants to get back to his hobbies.
What kind of decision do you make?
I mean, whether it's an item worth keeping, if it has any value, sentimental or financial, where it's going to live, what it gets categorized with, how to best maintain the integrity of that item so that it's stored properly, making sure that anything that's got wood is not dealing with a bunch of water or anything like that. Like you're making 6 or 7 decisions on each and every single item that comes into the field, and get pretty exhausting when you have a household of 30,000 items.
30,000 items we have. Oh my gosh.
I mean, everybody's a little bit different, but if you have a big house, then, you're dealing with every junk drawer, every closet, every picture, everything. And especially if you have a hobby, then you're having to make decisions about something you're passionate about, you love doing, but you haven't used that item for the last 3 years. So clearly you don't need it, but just in case you need it someday for your hobby, for the thing that makes you happy, trying to make decisions about things that you're excited and passionate about is hard.
Yes. Tell me about it. And also the guilt, like when you have spent a lot of money on an item and you never used it, that feels hard to let go.
Like let yourself down, but you really haven't. I mean, what you've done is essentially prove to yourself that that's not an item that sparked enough joy to be used. I mean, when you haven't used something, don't take it as a personal, oh, I should have used it, I feel so bad. Take it as okay, I've already made my decision about it, whether I've said something or not. I mean, the decision's pretty clear because I haven't touched it.
So it has to go.
Yeah, use it as an indicator, not as a guilt trip,
Yeah. Cool, powerful. And tell me, what are your main responsibilities as a professional?
Yeah, so each project's a little bit different. For me, my job is to walk you through the process, teach you the skills so that you can do the process on your own, and basically deputize you as a mini professional organizer, but for your own space. I'm teaching, decision making, critical thinking, emotion processing, and just overall space organizing. And I'm packaging it all into one cute little package and trying to get all of that through to you. So it's like trying to take a sip of a fire hose, you know, trying to teach you all of this in one little tiny moment.
That's powerful. Yeah. I guess sometimes they call you back in a year or 2 years time again, the same clients, right?
I have some clients that they just don't want to be a part of the process at all. And I go in once a month and I go through and I organize their space again, and I make sure everything's back where it's supposed to be and, you know, put away correctly. And, you know, those are fun because I always know where everything is. And then they'll send me a text during the week, hey, where is my whatever it may be? And I'll be like, oh, third shelf from the left. I got you.
Powerful. You have very good memory.
I very much like those find it games that you play as a kid, you know, I Spy or Where's Waldo. I don't know if you guys had those, but I love those looking for thing games, and I've gotten very good at it since I started this business.
Amazing. It's like even with that client, you would remember where you put stuff. That's impressive. You really need to have a very good memory. So you see, something you use as a kid as a game is helping you now. Nothing is wasted. All the skills we learn,
it
becomes useful. And this is, I guess, between your passion to sort your cousin's bedrooms and this game that you loved, these two skills combined are making you very successful organizer. So
I mean, every little thing builds up to the moment you're at in your life right now, whether, you know, you're running a business or you're, you know, an accountant or whatever you're doing. Everything has led up to that moment. So embrace those skills from the past and try to incorporate your strengths into what you're currently doing.
Yes.
That's my philosophy, at least. I don't know, but that's how I've chosen to live my life, and it's worked out so far.
Awesome. And Amber, a curiosity, what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to succeed in this job, in this field?
I've had to learn patience. It's not something that's come easily or naturally for me, but patience is huge because you can't rush that decision-making process. Patience is huge. Also, empathy is pretty big because you're helping people process through those emotional items. And then the I Spy game is always really important because, you know, as things are moving and you're shifting somebody's entire house, their whole environment, everything is in a different place. You know, there's going to be a moment where they look at you and they go, where did the scissors go? Or where's my silverware? And you have to be able to pick up exactly where that is or find it quickly and easily. So those are kind of the major skills that you got to start honing and refining. And I'd say I'm not an expert yet by any means. I've definitely got more learning and growing to do before I can take that title.
That's a good thing. Otherwise, I think when we stop wanting to grow in our business is when we are ready to move to something else. So it's very good. Till we have this craving to learn more, it's impossible that one day we will learn everything about something, because there is always something new coming up or a new person that, as we are all unique, that will challenge in a new way. So if you could do it all over again, would you choose the same path for yourself? And if not, what would you change?
I have done so much, learned so much doing what I do. It's definitely not the easiest path I could have taken. You know, a small part of me will always crave that security of the 9 to 5 and the simplicity of some sort of simple 40-hour-a-week job or something, you know, just doing the easy route. But I don't think I would have grown nearly as much as a person in my integrity and my character if I'd picked the easy route. So
Exactly.
I would absolutely do this again. Um,
Yeah.
Even though it's crazy and there's days where I think I'm losing my mind, but I would 100% pick to do this every time.
Awesome. Awesome. Because it's amazing. You're passionate and you're good. So the world needs a person like you. We need you. So
Yeah.
it's very good that you are not in a 9 to 5, because otherwise you will not be sharing with us your amazing skills.
Hmm.
And I'm telling you, it's like, well, I'm no, for sure you already know, your skills are pretty unique, because I know organized people, but they don't know how to help me to become organized because they irritate me. It's like within 5 seconds, like, get out. I will do it myself. It's like, do you really need this? Do you really need this? Do you really need this, Janine? But it's cheap. Why do you need it? So it's like, so you need to have the right personality. So I've tried to ask my friends, but they don't have much patience with me, and I think like I don't have patience with them either. It's like I always need to explain myself. I want to keep this because I'm quite good to let go of things, but I hold way too much for my taste. So I don't have 15 sweaters, but I have 8 and 10 pair of jeans, and I use 3. So I love jeans.
I mean, it's a process. It's not like it's a one and done project. You have to
Mm.
constantly go back and evaluate. So I love the substitution rule, right? So once you've gotten to a place where you're okay with having 8 sweaters, you want those 8 sweaters, then every time you bring a new sweater into the house, one of the old ones has to go. You can't just
Mm.
adding, you have to substitute. So as soon as one new thing comes in, something of equal value or type or whatever it may be needs to leave.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to keep the house from getting back to that cluttered state and needing to do another big long weekend or week-long project.
I guess you work a lot in the weekends because most of the people work 9 to 5. So,
Right now I'm working about 7 days a week, so I'm
oh my
just,
God. Thank you for
yeah.
finding time to show up for this call.
There's a holiday this week. It was
Oh, yes.
perfect.
Amazing. Amazing. And Amber, what has been your biggest challenge since starting your business?
Oh, I mean, there's so many to choose from. I would say my propensity to try and please people and make them happy. So I've overextended myself at times beyond
Mm,
my ease and beyond my capacity to actually handle something. Um, and I've hurt people doing that or hurt relationships doing that because, I never see my husband or my clients disappointed because I wasn't able to deliver on something that I thought and believed I could pull off, but really couldn't.
mm,
And trying to learn how to find balance in that and how to stop such a self-destructive habit has been kind of my journey over the last few months of,
mm,
okay, I'm just completely ending this portion of what I do because I used to sell items for clients. I don't do that anymore. So if you were doctored in on the old contract, I'll still finish those for you, but that's it. I'm not taking on anything else like that because it takes up a bunch of time that I don't have, and it takes
mm.
up skills that I don't really have. So learning to find that balance of, how to give the most value without actually overextending myself, and
Yeah.
how to really recognize my true value and where I'm actually the most gifted at so that I'm not spending all my time on my weaknesses, I'm spending it on my strengths.
Yes, you can hire somebody to deal with your weaknesses.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's where I've kind of been sitting at lately is trying to find that balance.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I believe it's good that when we work on our weaknesses to make them less weak. However, if we have something strong, we should focus on that one too. We can always hire somebody who can deal with the admin bits of stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's I'm getting some help for marketing, for example, because I'm not good at it. I don't know where to start from. So So
I don't know why people think they have to be good at everything. You really
it's
don't.
impossible. And plus, it's really draining because you need to then, like, for example, how do you balance between business and personal life as you work 7 days a week lately? So how do you balance? Tell us
I
the
mean,
secret.
yeah, essentially, I play hard and I work hard. So, there's
Love
one
it.
night per week where I make sure that it's carved out for my husband. And then I make sure I have one night per week that's carved out for friends. And that's essentially what I've done, because I know that this is a season of life. And my husband's on board with me and my friends are on board with me that if I work super crazy hours and really, really hard for me, I have a 1 year limit right now. I just hit the start of my 1 year left limit to work this hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm scale everything back. I've hired 4 employees, so I'm training them up. And by the end of the year, I'm hoping to have a few more that I can just start passing things off to. And I don't have to be at every job site. I don't have to be involved in everything. I don't have to be constantly present, as well as doing all of the back end business stuff.
Yeah.
So trying to find the balance for me means going insanely hard right now. And then I'm going to take a year and just be mostly hands off of my business and check in with people, obviously not totally hands off, but let the people that I've trained to do what I do, just do it, see what happens. Eventually, I'm not going to want to run this business at this size forever. I'm either going to want to grow it or sell it and start a new project elsewhere, or we're going to move. And this is such a location-based industry. It's hard trying to figure out what the future holds. So I want to make sure it's able to do its thing. The business is able to do its thing on its own, and I'm not 100% necessary for every moment for it to run.
Awesome.
So empowering my team to just take over and do their thing.
Yes, girl. Well done. Thank you ever so much. It was amazing. And thank you for being so generous to teach us on how to be less clutter-free. But you, of course, how will people be able to reach you? Because you're based in U.S. and exactly where?
I live on the West Coast, so I'm in Southern Oregon. So I'm just above California's border by like 20 minutes.
Which are the areas you cover for the people who eventually will live in the area?
If they live in the area, I basically do anything within 100 miles of me.
Okay.
And then I partner with some organizers up north, so that way if I find anything further up north and I don't have the time to do that kind of drive, then I just pass them on as a referral up there and they take care of them.
Ah, great. But you also have an online course, correct?
Yeah.
So we can do it from all over the world, as long as we have internet. So tell me more about that.
100%. So what I've done is I've created customizable plans for each and every project that you could have. So what you do is you shoot me an email and I'll walk you through that process of taking videos and photos of your space or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, figuring out exactly what your goals are, and then providing a step-by-step plan to get you from point A to point B and getting you completely done, start to finish. So
awesome.
It starts with that email. So give me an email.
Awesome. And how can people reach you? Where can we find you? Well, I'm already connected with you, so I can share, but I will also share your website, which has some amazing pictures, like I want that room, and I want that room, and that room. How can people reach you?
Yeah, my website's usually my best way of getting a hold of me. I have a Facebook page that I don't do a whole lot with, but I need to fix that one of these days when I have free time. But usually my website is the best way to get a hold of me, or email is a great way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And the online course, how many days or how many weeks will it last?
So it depends on the size of the project. That's why it's so if you just want to tackle a room, like if you're just trying to do your living room, I mean, you can do that in a long day or in a week. if you're trying to do your whole house, I mean, that's going to depend on how much time you have to put into the project.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's
and how,
amazing.
yeah, and how much you need to get done.
So if you want to work with her, you can be anywhere in the world. She can work online with you.
Mm-hmm.
There is anything else you would like to say, or?
Just thanks for watching, guys, and I had a blast doing this, and I hope that you got, you know, one little nugget out of here to go tackle that junk drawer, tackle that linen closet.
Yes, go, you go, declutter, let it go, let it go. It's so powerful, let it go.
Yeah.
Amazing, Amber. It was amazing to have you, and thank you for finding time in your busy schedule and giving us time during your holidays. I wish you all a lovely day, evening, whenever you're watching this video. Thanks, everyone. Bye.